Davidson changed my life. There I grew up. I had the opportunity to learn in new ways, to meet students from across the country, to play varsity baseball my first year, to study abroad in Madrid, to meet an incredible group of friends, and to be challenged by some of the wonderful teacher mentors whom I consider lifelong friends. I was able to go on to Duke and Harvard after Davidson, and I still say my sophomore year at Davidson was the most important for my intellectual development because I was pressing myself, I was learning new ideas, I was learning about diversity and justice in ways that I hadn't experienced as much as a suburban kid from Indianapolis.
Dean Hicks, like myself, like many out there listening to this, got his grounding at Davidson in a small liberal arts experience. And he has continued to find that path by working at various small liberal arts environments, University of Richmond, Colgate, and now Oxford. I think he deeply values the liberal arts education, taking a diversity of classes, stretching oneself to take classes outside of one's own intended major, pursuing options that one hadn't even considered before coming to school. He did that himself and has continued to foster that for students as a professor and as an administrator.
Oxford offers a small campus, away from the big city, and serendipitous encounters that build relationships and a sense of shared obligation to each other. Doug recognized and empowered that environment. He seemed to thrive off of the idea that for the first 2 years at Emory, these students could enjoy this special place that also prepared them for what lay ahead. He also is one of the most present leaders I know. He isn't just visible on campus, he knows who you are, what you care about, and what you're struggling with.
What does an institution that's in a privileged position, right, how does that translate to impact in our immediate and larger communities? And I think all of that just takes a leader that is willing to have a range of voices at the table that represents, you know, the community around us today that is ever changing, just not demographically, but in thought, right, and political ideology to just how we think about the world. And that takes a nuanced leader to be comfortable in that messiness.
My undergraduate thesis at Davidson was called Poverty in Charlotte, North Carolina. My doctoral dissertation at Harvard was called Inequality Matters, a theologically informed approach to disparities and well-being. A longer title because it was a graduate document of similar commitments that I learned at Davidson in economics, in Spanish, and in religion, bringing those topics together about how we could be a more just society. They're commitments that I learned on campus. They're commitments that led me into the work that I do. I write on religious ethics, I write on moral equality and economic equality, and I write on religious diversity and how we as a diverse and devout America can live together with mutual respect. For me, they all fit together. I could name professors at Davidson who helped me to fit those things together. And it's important work, I believe, with civic implications. And I also believe it informs my leadership of a college because we also embody those values. We deal with inequalities. We help prepare students from various backgrounds to go out and to create a society of equals and to give everyone more than equal opportunity, equal capacities to make a difference in the world. So I'm deeply motivated by what I study, which is how we can build a more equal and just society, starting right here on campus.
One of the biggest things about Doug is that once you look deeper into him as a person and as a candidate, you will see that he really understands Davidson from, I think, an academic level where we're not just in the classroom, but we are students that want to go out into the community. And he's shown that from his time here as a student, but also in what he's pursued in Emory.
Davidson should be at the center of the liberal arts discussion, the discussion of the value proposition that students gain from learning the liberal arts on a wonderful residential campus. We shouldn't shy away from those questions, but instead say that for today's complex workplace, where people need to communicate effectively, to work in diverse groups, to think critically, to write well and speak well, there is no better education than the liberal arts. That's been true at Davidson for 180 years, and it's more true now.
When I was provost at Emory, I saw Doug making the connections between the deep human skills of the liberal arts and how to support students in translating those skills into careers and professional environments. Doug is committed to preparing students for leadership and lives of purpose. And he recognizes the importance of both the depth of the liberal arts and the value of experience in that preparation. And Doug knows that supporting and developing the teaching and research of the faculty is job one for creating an environment for meaningful liberal arts education. That vision is embodied in something called the Humanities Pathways program that Doug co-leads at Emory, a program for which he spearheaded the proposal to the Mellon Foundation, and ultimately it was funded for the creation of this program.
For me, tradition and progress are not opposites. They are in tension with one another. And Davidson has such a rich and complex tradition, and yet we have one of the brightest futures of any college in the United States. So I want to understand and get back to speed with what's going on campus today. And I want to take us to the next level of where Davidson is called to be, not for today, not for the class of 1990, but for the future. I'm really excited about how Davidson has shaped me. I'm even more excited about where we're going.